And we're back. It's not even raining yet, is it?
Not yet.
It may be fixing
Not
to.
yet.
Yeah,
It's
just
going to because I just put my umbrella away.
there you go.
Go ahead.
That's how that works. Uh, Talking about abductions, we've talked about a number of your experiences interacting with um, extraterrestrials or other beings, whatever you want to call it. What do you feel like their purpose is? What is it that they're trying to do? Or can we know?
Yeah. It's real iffy because we're not in the same frame that they are. Our what we value and what we think about and what we evaluate with and compare to is not necessarily in the same lexicon as theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're trying to do, it's hard to say, but in the case with me, most of the stuff that's happened to me was because they were checking up on me.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to see my health. They wanted to see some work that they'd done on my leg. They just wanted to make sure everything was cool. And sometimes I get the impression that they're protecting me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why that would be, except I've had several people tell me that, and they said that's the reason that they're always around.
Mm-hmm.
They're keeping an eye on you. And there are times when I can go outside and look up and see one, and it'll come right down and get to where I can see the two creatures sitting in the front, up in the pilot seats. And I'll wave to them and talk to them, and I mean, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Sitting out on the lake up in northern Minnesota one night fishing, and I was going to fish till late. Well, I didn't come back in until the sun came up, and I know there was some missing time, but there were three of them. They were in the same kind of crowd. They were up behind me and around me, and I started waving to them, and one at a time, they came down within 30 yards of my boat and hovered and looked at me, and I waved to them. I said, "Come on down, let's go do some fishing." And and they just, it was cool. And they all three did that. All three of the craft did that. But there was some time there that I'm not sure what happened. Either I fell asleep or they took me to meet their buddies.
So with that, we've got a number of people who've never had an experience. They've never had an encounter. You have lots of them. Any idea why you?
I didn't used to think about that too much until it started happening all the time. I think that it has to do with your lineage.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of it. It's not all of it, but I think that's part of it with mine, because I've been doing research on genealogy in my family for 47, 48 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been writing about this and studying it and going back to Europe and seeing where we came from. And the majority of the family, on both sides of the family, was royalty. On my dad's side, more than my mom's. French, English, Scottish, Norwegian, not necessarily German, but a little bit of Spanish. And they were all related in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. And it appears that there were times when the decision was made by whoever made the decisions that certain families, certain people were going to do certain jobs. And they were going to be productive in either managing humanity as far as being a leader, or they were going to be scientists, or they're going to do this or going to do that. Mm-hmm. And it's almost it is a religious thing. We believe that that's what God wanted to do. I am starting to look very carefully at that, because it seems like that our genealogy brings down certain traits, and that those traits are the same traits that many of our ancestors had over the years. And every once in a while, the trait pops up, and you're I don't want to say destined, but you are predisposed to be able to fill in a certain niche. Mm-hmm. And I do that. It's not. It's very natural for me to step into a leadership role, or it's very natural for me to stand up and talk to very large groups of people, and do a pretty good job of getting them fired up. Uh, I was a naval officer, and when I walked into the room, it's not that they all snapped to attention and shook with fear. It's the apprehension of, okay, now what are we going to do? What's up? And it's just something you come by.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily learned. I think that has something to do with it. And they're interested. One said to me one time, and it was a mantis, and she said, Michael, I don't want to scare you. We won't hurt you, but I like the stories that you tell. And we want you to tell more of those stories. I paraphrased that, but basically that's what she said.
Yeah.
And it told me that I must be saying something that they like. And I've always been very kind. I learned to be kind to animals. I learned to travel throughout the world, and I can make friends with people who don't speak any language that I speak. But before you know it, we're sitting down having a Pepsi or whatever, and something to eat. And the next thing you know, we're going out to look at their house. And you develop relationships like that. And I think that they want to find people that are capable of that know how to talk to people and teach and help them to become less afraid of this. And I feel like it's kind of a calling that I need to keep talking to people and getting them fired up and make them feel comfortable and enjoying the idea. Look at the good side of it. I mean, and if there's a bad side to it, it's in somebody else's hands. I mean, I'm not going to fight the war, but I will help try to make the peace.